Hey, it's Rob from Adulting. Thanks for tuning into my video, my channel. Thank you very much to those people who've been watching my videos already. Um, really appreciate it. It's kind of the warm, fuzzy feeling that a couple people have stumbled on my videos. Again, thanks. Sorry for not posting anything recently. I've been waiting for the YouTube sort of algorithm to figure out why I've uploaded 4 videos, but I can only find 2 on the search things, and then playing around with the name of my channel, all sorts of stuff. I also took the time to buy a new microphone, so we'll see how that works out. Anyways, moving on to my channel, the theme of adulting. Adulting is all about making it as an adult. I'm 35 years old now, but I made a ton of mistakes, especially financially. And there's a lot of tricks that I've learned over the years that I think if I told you about them and you're a young adult, you're about to go to college or start your first job, or even if you've already had some, experience as an adult, but you're just not making it and not getting ahead, I think this video and what I'm going to tell you might help a little bit. You're not going to get rich off of this stuff, but you're going to save a few bucks. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was points and reward systems. And so mainly there's all sorts of points and reward systems, but this one here used to be king. Air miles. You used to find air miles everywhere. And it was easy to collect air miles 10, 15 years ago. Why? No one had their own point systems. So you couldn't go to one store or another store and they're like, here, buy our points card, get our points card, you're going to shop here all the time, right? Well, like Home Depot has a great reward system. But unless you're a carpenter or you're shopping every single day at Home Depot, is it going to make that much sense for you? Not really. So air miles has really started dying off over the years. Why? Because everyone's getting their own systems, their own point systems. And so where you can actually get a lot of air miles is starting to wean a little bit. And one of the key factors, especially for young adults and students, people are trying to make it, especially where I'm living here in North Bay, Ontario, one of the places to get air miles is Sobeys. Well, guess what? Sobeys is a premium grocery store. I find they have the best produce, the best cheese, the best milk, the best meat. But you're also paying double the costs of all those food items that you are at a place like No Frills. And it's really, really frustrating because No Frills, half the cost, you don't get air miles. So if you collect air miles, you're in trouble. On top of that, air miles sort of, gotta cover up that number. Air miles sort of gets you. One of the problems with air miles is I was looking at the exchange rates today. So I have about 2,000 points on my air miles. One of the problems with that is you can buy points. The exchange rate for 2,000 air miles is about $600. However, when you go to buy some sort of reward from air miles, it's only about 200 points in value. So it's really frustrating because the exchange rate is so heavily skewed. So one of the things that I like to talk about is finding your perfect niche. It all depends on where you live. If you live in downtown Toronto or anywhere within the GTA suburbs, wherever the case may be, you're surrounded by, thousands of stores. Your options are endless. But not all of the population of Canada lives in a place where there's so many options to hook up on points. You need to figure out what it is you do, what it is you like, what it is you buy, and then really take advantage of the point system if there is one. Or if there isn't a point setup, maybe picking up some sort of MasterCard or a Visa card that has a special relationship with that chain. So what I like to talk about in this specific moment is I live in North Bay, Ontario, Canada. I have a PC Optimum Rewards Points MasterCard. I went with this MasterCard because I watched another video and they were talking about, cashback reward, miles for or reward setups. I think it was Tangerine they were talking about specifically, and there was like all these really great perks of, you pay your bills and you get to pick and choose which ones you want, and that all sounded fantastic, and I was just about to do it, but then it occurred to me, I was like, well, is there something else out there? Well, my wife and I, we have medical expenses, we have prescriptions, so we end up going to Shoppers Drug Mart quite a bit. Shoppers Drug Mart being a part of the PC all-encompassing rewards program we already had one of their points cards. And we had noticed one day, after saving up 100,000 points, which does not take very long at all, like a month, and you get 10,000 points. Well, you cash those in, and you end up scoring a lot of money for those points, and you can do a small grocery. We were doing that quite often, especially when we were broke. We're like, here's 60 bucks of groceries you got for free. So lo and behold, we were like, hey, wait a minute, maybe there's something here. On top of that, no frills, Loblaws, Value Mart, Zehrs, a Real Canadian Superstore, especially Real Canadian Superstore. That's a big one that you find in bigger cities, and there's so many shopping options. Independent Fortinos, never heard of that one, and Wholesale Club, also never heard of that one personally, but maybe bigger cities, different regions. Esso Shoppers. These are all places with a PC points system. Now, I'm not sponsored by these guys. I'd love to be. So I'm not trying to toot their horn or anything, but they got a really great program. Why? Because you get the regular points card, which I don't have one in front of me. Actually, no, yes, I do. So you get the regular points card. You get, for every dollar, you get 10 points. It's fantastic. But then you score yourself one of these MasterCards, and boom, you're getting 20 points per dollar. And then you further back that up on their 20 points days. So you get 20 times the points on these special days. On top of that, there's offers you can load up that are specific. You really take advantage of the system. You can rack up 40,000 points on a single grocery visit like I've done. And all of a sudden you can turn around and cash that in. I think it's 10,000 points is $10. Well, if you got 100, for $100 that you can redeem anytime, and there's no gimmick or anything. You just say, hey, I want to redeem $100. That's 100,000 points. Again, it doesn't take that long to rack them up, especially on those 20-point days. I hit that 2 weekends ago, 100,000 points. Well, if you're a starving student, $100 of free groceries, that's a lot of food. That is a lot of Kraft dinner. That's a lot of, bouillon cubes. I remember eating the worst food possible when I was 19 and going to college. Why? It's cheap, and unfortunately the worst food is the cheap food. So I highly suggest analyzing, figuring out what it is you buy, what it is you invest in, and then figure out if there's a point system and really take advantage of that. And it also depends on your location. If you live in a city that doesn't have a Loblaws or even a Shoppers Drug Mart, well, then getting this point system isn't going to make sense for you. You really got to figure out where you are and what it is you're doing. The next thing that almost every Canadian city has: Starbucks, Tim Hortons, McDonald's. I love coffee. I cannot start the day without coffee. If I don't have coffee, I'm in big trouble. My brain starts doing all sorts of crazy things, and I'm sure it does the same thing for you. And if you're a young professional, you probably need coffee or tea or whatever the case may be first thing in the morning, just like everyone else. If you're a young student, you're trying to make it in school, you've got those 5-hour study sessions, or maybe you're gaming all night just trying to relax. You need a bit of caffeine to wake up or stay awake. Coffee, Problem is like everyone else, I love Starbucks coffee, but you're paying $5 to $7 for a coffee. And when you're buying a coffee, you're never not just buying a coffee. You're also buying a cookie or a donut or a sandwich. So you end up spending $15 for what you could get at Tim Hortons or even McDonald's for like $5 or $6. But you don't think about it. Well, let me tell you, when I was 19, I wasn't thinking about it, and I pissed away a lot of money. Now I'm a little older, and I'm trying to scrimp and save. I've bought my first house. I'm already thinking about, I would like to buy a second property, make, a lot of extra money, become a landlord of multiple properties or something. So I'm trying to save up every single dime I can. Spending $7 for a coffee at Starbucks isn't going to cut it anymore. I have a $50 drip maker upstairs, and I buy once every 3 months a big tub of Folgers coffee for $15. I'm saving hundreds of dollars every couple months on not buying Starbucks coffee. And I'm not harping on them for the sake of harping on them. I still buy a Starbucks coffee here and there, but really you're paying a lot of money for whipped cream and drizzle. And really that's what a lot of the Starbucks coffees are. So I highly suggest going to Tim Hortons on top of that reward system, or better yet, and I think it's a bit more bang for your buck, McDonald's with reward system. Now, as I've said before in previous videos, I'm a security officer. I have a lot of late nights, a lot of 12-hour shifts. I am beating fatigue left, right, and center. And considering in North Bay what's open at midnight is few and far between, especially during this pandemic season. So Tim Hortons and McDonald's are one of the few places that are open that late. So what I love about McDonald's specifically is, well, cheap coffee that's actually a decent quality, because it used to actually be Tim Hortons coffee, but then the contracts got renewed and McDonald's swooped in there and took Tim Hortons coffee, and that's how you now end up with a really decent McDonald's coffee. Anyways, that's the story I heard. But I can tell you about 10 years ago, McDonald's coffee got way, way better. It used to be terrible, but now it's fantastic. And what makes it great is every single time you go to McDonald's and you get one of the coffees, you win. Why? You get one of these little stickers. You fill out 7 of these stickers, you get a free coffee. Well, there's not a whole lot of times where now I'm broke all the time, but as a young student, when you're broke and you got no money, guess what? This is a big morale booster for a student. It's a big morale booster for someone who's got no money. You get yourself a nice warm coffee, you get that caffeine fix, you get that nice warm flavor. It's delicious. So I save these suckers up, and you notice I've got 7 of these things, free coffees. And so when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I can't find $2, I whip one of these suckers out and I say, hey, free coffee. Yeah, sure, it's only a medium, but that's better than nothing, and I didn't really have to pay for it. That's fantastic. Tim Hortons has also got something similar. Now, what's great about this is you get more points for other things, like it's not just coffee, which really makes it worth it. And if you're going to be shopping there, why not get the points anyways? It doesn't make any sense. On top of that, Tim Hortons, like McDonald's, is nationwide, so you can literally go on a road trip and just hit up all these points, and after so many points, you get something for free. Starbucks has the same thing, but again, you're paying $5-7 a coffee and for a meal, whereas here you're paying a quarter of that. That's a way to get ahead, and it matters. Why? Because I have something right here. I call this my money jar. This is all the quarters, all the dimes, all the nickels, the $5 bills, whatever. I've now got about $200 in savings, and this is normally what I'd call my coffee money. So here's a physical representation of all the money I've been saving by doing all these tricks with the point cards and these. Now, $200, not a lot of money. But when you're broke, when you got nothing, and you're starting up an RRSP thing because you want to take advantage of your taxes at the end of the year, $200 is a big deal, especially for a student who's broke and can really take advantage of the tax system. Because taxes favor students. You get a lot of tax breaks as a student. You don't as an adult, especially once that student designation is gone, it's over. Next thing I wanted to talk about was other point systems, especially for Canadian Armed Forces, the CF1 program. CF1 is fantastic. There's all sorts of perks with this program. It's kind of a form of military ID. There's places where you present your veterans card or your CF1 card, you get free parking, that kind of thing. Hospitals especially. One of the downsides about this program is, although it's a points program, CF1 cards are actually, not so much the CF1 cards, but the Canics, it's actually really expensive. I find that their deals are nowhere near as good as the competition, and if you were to doing any kind of price matching, you're going to lose if you're doing your shopping at the Canics. But there's a lot of remote bases. Again, pick up the rewards thing. I paid nothing for this. I got it for free. I collect points. If you're shopping there a lot, pick it up, do it. Especially if you're a reservist, same thing. You end up on a base, you spend $100 on getting all those snacks and stuff to perk yourself up when you're going off in the field for a week and a half. Makes sense to pick up the rewards. Pick up your reward cards. It's important. But at the end of the day, you got to do smart shopping. And so these are the cards that I have. I got the PC MasterCard. I got the Tim Hortons card. I even have my Starbucks one for every time I pick up the rare Starbucks. the CF and the air miles. But at the end of the day, I think the best bang for your buck is the MasterCard with the PC Optimum points. Why? We do a lot of shopping at PC Optimum point places, and No Frills is probably one of the cheapest grocery stores out there. So if you want to spend $100 on meat, well, at a cheaper place like No Frills, $100 is going to go a long way. You're going to get 4 or 5 different packages of meat. Whereas if you're doing that at Sobeys, you're probably going to get 2, maybe 3. So again, I think it works out. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is banks. You have to deal with banks. There's no getting away from banks. The idea of forking away your money under your pillow or under your mattress, those days are gone. Well, I guess they're not gone, but I find it's a good idea to always have a little bit of money in the house. Not so much that if you get robbed, it's going to kill you. But you have to deal with banks. I've been a TD customer for the vast majority of my life. I've only recently switched from TD. Why? Because I got a mortgage with a different company, RBC, that had amazing rates that defeated TD left, right, and center. And the perks, it made sense to switch. Love TD. Have no issues with TD whatsoever with the regular businesses. On top of that, their support system. Every time I had a problem, I called up TD security and I said, hey, I've got these fraudulent charges on my card. They took care of it. Bam, toasted. Love them for that. However, they do have a sneaky streak. My wife got on an insurance. It was an injury insurance if you got hurt in a car accident or something like that. Well, my wife got hurt. She had to miss a few days of work. She went to claim her insurance. TD wouldn't give it to her, even though she's holding the policy with the fine print that says, here's what it's for. She never got it. She does not do that ever again. I'm surprised she's still a TD customer. It's phenomenal. It's kind of insane. Anyways, but one of the big kickers, especially with the banks and when you're 19, 20, 21, is they will offer you a $10,000 line of credit if you have decent credit with them. Well, when I was 21, I was like, hell yeah, $10,000. I've never seen that kind of money. I'll get myself a line of credit. Assuming that when I lived in a place like North Bay where housing was affordable, I was like, that's a down payment on a house. They're practically giving me a down payment. Being a silly, stupid kid, I didn't really think about it. And I only found out about 10 years later, especially when I went to buy a house, that they look at where money comes from. And so when they look at where money comes from, if you got that place from a lender, like the cash store on the corner, they're not going to allow you to use that for a mortgage payment. Same with the line of credit. Your line of credit is for specific purchases, but everyday purchases, that kind of thing. Now, as an adult, when you own a house, yeah, it's important to have a line of credit in case the roof explodes or something happens. But in this particular case, when you're trying to get ahead, that line of credit is going to be like a credit card, especially when you're being charged 29% interest rate. It's a trap. And let me tell you, it took me a lot of years to get out of that line of credit because eventually you're going to use it all. And if you're not super responsible and super frugal, you're going to use every single dime. And all of a sudden you're going to be $10,000 in debt. And when you're 19 years old and you're making a minimum wage at a restaurant, $10,000 might as well be $1 million. And you feel like you're never going to get there. Stay away from it. It's a trap. Probably the best way to build your credit is you get, some sort of credit card. You can't get this particular credit card because I've met certain preconditions, but there are some credit cards you can get. I believe my first was Canadian Tire. They had no prerequisites. You just need to have decent credit score, and it was a way to build up your credit, and that's probably the best way to do it. And your credit is really, really important, especially when you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. You need a bank loan to get a car, like a lot of people do. You got to start somewhere. So I think that's where I'm going to end off today. These are my sort of things that have been bugging me, and I think a lot of people need to hear these sort of options because, like I said, this is $200 in spare change and a couple dollar bills. This is all the stuff that would normally, if I didn't stick it in one of these little jars, would end up inside my couch. It would end up in my pockets, and you throw it around, and you'd forget that you've got a lot of money sitting around. And I think I actually went through a box. I called it my junk box. And when I went through that box and I looked at the bottom, I found like 15 bucks in quarters and nickels. It's kind of insane. This is all savings that I can put somewhere to RRSPs. I can use it as everyday change, parking change, whatever, gas money. It's all really, really important. It all adds up. And at the end of the day, you want to make it as an adult. You want to get ahead in life. You got to find that savings wherever you can get it. So again, last, get your rewards, get your stickers, get your free coffee, get your free food, get your appreciation days, get your, find out what sort of point system works for you, get it, shop it, take advantage of it, research it, do it. And if you're a student, really take advantage of those student discounts. Ask for them. You'll be surprised what places accept them. Anyways, thank you very much. I hope I said some good stuff here. Please subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Likes, all that stuff. It keeps me going. And I hope to talk to you guys soon enough in my next video. Thank you very much and have a good night.